My dad never said a word during the chaos, until one text shattered the family and left me questioning whether he'd been watching all along. At brunch, my mom looked me dead in the eye and said, "We're just trying to be nice, including you. Don't think you actually matter." My uncle burst out laughing like she'd just told the best joke of the day. My dad? He just kept chewing his eggs. Didn't defend me. Didn't even look at me. I sat there with my coffee, the bitterness matching the pit in my stomach. One sip, one nod, and I walked out, quiet, calm. No one stopped me. No one even called my name. It was like they'd been waiting for that moment, like the family circus needed a punchline, and I was it. The shame wasn't about who I was. It was about realizing I'd walked into that room still hoping, stupidly, that maybe things had changed. The sun outside was harsh, bouncing off the pavement as I slid into my car. I didn't play music. Just drove home with the wind and that buzzing in my head that wouldn't quit. By the time I parked in my driveway, the decision was made. No screaming. No revenge fantasy. Just quiet removal. First, the cabin. The one they all bragged about like it was some communal treasure. The same cabin I'd dumped money into, roof, plumbing, foundation, while they just showed up for bonfires and holiday weekends. My name was on the deed. Not theirs. I logged in, made the draft listing public, and within 5 days it was gone. Cash offer. Closed. Next was the shared credit line. I'd opened it when they wanted a washer-dryer they couldn't afford. For 6 months, I'd been covering the minimum payments without a word. They forgot the account was even under me. I closed it. Blocked. Done. Then their beloved Amazon Prime. They'd been mooching off my subscription for years, each of them with their cards tucked under my main account. I flagged every card, reported suspicious activity, and shut the household down. By 9:40 that night, the group chat erupted. My sister, why is my Prime cancelled? Did we get hacked? My cousin, who deleted the cabin from the calendar? My mom, just 3 cold question marks. Not one of them mentioned brunch. Not one of them asked if I was okay. They weren't worried about me, they were worried about their perks disappearing. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, not a text. Not the group chat. An unknown number. I picked up. And that's when I heard it, my mom's lawyer on the line. The call came at 7:15 the next evening. I was sitting in my kitchen with a half-eaten bowl of pasta, noodles sticking together, sauce drying on the edges of the plate. My phone buzzed with yet another unknown number. The family chat had already blown up 5 times that day. I almost let it ring out. But something in my gut told me to answer. "Hello, this is Carol Walker. I represent your mother and father in some ongoing family arrangements. Do you have a moment to talk?" Her voice was calm, clipped, like she'd said those exact words 1,000 times before. I didn't reply, just waited. She continued, "Your father has asked to recover the vehicle you gifted him 2 years ago. He intends to transfer the title to a colleague of mine. I understand it was a gift, but he's requesting it be returned immediately." I stared out the window, the streetlights flickering against the glass. Of course. The cabin was gone, the accounts shut down, the subscription cards cancelled. Now they were clawing at whatever scraps were left. This wasn't about a car, it was about control. About reminding me they could still reach me if they wanted to. I asked her when and where. She sounded caught off guard, like she was waiting for a fight. She gave me a time, an address. I said I'd be there. Then I hung up. The next morning, I stripped the car of anything that was mine, the spare registration I'd kept tucked away, an old pair of sunglasses, the charging cable tangled in the console. It didn't feel sad, just final. Like shutting down a file that had been open far too long. At exactly 1 p.m., I pulled into their driveway. The same cracked concrete I used to shovel in winter, the same lopsided hedge that died every year and came back in ugly patches. I parked, walked up, and rang the doorbell once. My mom answered. My dad was just behind her, arms crossed, silent as stone. My sister lounged on the couch, scrolling her phone like she couldn't care less, though I could see her eyes flicking up every few seconds. She was wearing the hoodie I bought her last Christmas. I held out the keys. "I'm here to return the car. Just like your lawyer asked." My mom blinked, her face softening. She didn't take the keys. Instead, she launched into it, said we needed to talk, that this whole thing had gotten out of hand, that families shouldn't act this way. Her voice kept shifting, cold, then sweet, then almost rehearsed, like she was cycling through masks until one might work. I didn't step inside. I told her flatly I wasn't here for a conversation. I wasn't angry anymore, I was just finished. I wasn't going to keep pouring into a well that only spat dust back at me. That's when my sister sat up, tossed her phone onto the couch, and started in. Said I was blowing everything out of proportion. That I was twisting mom's words. That mom had been stressed, that the family had been under pressure, that I didn't understand. She said I was throwing away relationships over one brunch comment. I let her talk. Her voice was sharp, almost desperate, but her words landed like paper. Meaningless. She accused me of being wrong about everything, of cutting off people who cared about me. I almost laughed. I almost asked her when that caring had ever actually shown up. But instead, I just placed the keys on the porch railing, turned without a word, and walked down the steps. My mom called my name once, soft, like a bandage thrown on a wound she'd opened herself. My dad stayed silent. I ordered a taxi, slid into the back seat, and watched the familiar street signs blur by. The same streets I'd biked as a kid, the same corners that used to feel like home. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel grief. Just done. When I got home, I pulled up my banking app. For months I'd been transferring $900 to cover my sister's rent. She'd lost her job in February and told me she just needed help until she got back on her feet. I hadn't questioned it. I just sent the money. A week after that first payment, she bought herself designer boots and posted them on Instagram with the caption, "Retail therapy." I should have stopped then. But I didn't. I kept paying March, April, May. The payment for June was already scheduled. I canceled it. The next morning hit me like a storm I hadn't seen coming. 10 missed calls. Voicemails stacked up. Group chat notifications flashing nonstop. My sister's voice was everywhere, angry in one message, crying in the next, guilt-tripping in the third. She said she was about to be evicted. That I'd abandoned her when she needed me most. That I was punishing her for a fight with our parents, and I was cruel for cutting her off. I didn't respond. Not a word. By the afternoon, the group chat looked like a war zone. Cousins were chiming in, asking, "What's going on?" My uncle dropped his classic line, the one he always used when he didn't understand anything: "This family is falling apart." My mom sent a novel about how communication was the only way forward. No apologies, no accountability. Just empty words wrapped in fake wisdom. And then, silence. Until the next morning, just after 6. My phone lit up with a single message from my dad's number. Short. Direct. "If this behavior doesn't stop, everyone who doesn't live here will no longer be welcome in this house." That was it. No emojis. No softening. No explanation. Just flat, sharp, deliberate. For a moment, I stared at the screen in disbelief. My dad, who never texted, who always sat on the sidelines of the drama, who kept his opinions buried, had finally spoken. And when he did, the entire group froze. My sister fired back almost instantly. "Wait, what are you talking about?" Then another, "I live here now." No reply. 5 minutes later, my mom swooped in with a long paragraph about family unity and losing sight of what matters, like she'd pulled it word for word out of some therapy podcast she listened to while vacuuming. Still, no reply. But we all knew the truth, even if no one said it out loud. My sister had moved back in. She hadn't admitted it directly, but the signs were obvious. No more posts from her apartment balcony with the 2 fake plants. No more pictures of the old building. Instead, she'd been sharing grainy shots from inside my parents' house, the ugly green couch, their kitchen table, the unmistakable wallpaper I grew up staring at. She'd slipped back home quietly. And now my dad, of all people, was the one to draw a line. After that, the chat went silent. Dead. Later in the day, my uncle tried to break the tension with a lame suggestion: "How about a family barbecue? Clear the air. You know, because burgers fix everything." Not a single response. No thumbs up. No haha emoji. Nothing. That evening, my mom tried again. Another long, emotional post about how nobody's perfect and how healing was the only way forward. She even claimed my dad didn't mean it the way it sounded. Like he was some confused old man who needed her to translate. But he did mean it. Exactly the way it sounded. Everyone knew it. The second night was quieter still. No chaotic streams of memes or guilt-tripping walls of text. No links, no blurry reunion photos. Nothing. Even my sister went dark, no accidental texts, no passive-aggressive Instagram posts. It wasn't peace. It was the eye of the storm. Everyone could feel the shift. No one wanted to make the next move. That night, I walked down the block, past the bakery that always closed too early, along the park trail. My head wasn't on the cabin, or the car, or even the rent. My thoughts went straight to my dad. For years I'd taken his silence as weakness, as apathy. Like he just didn't care enough to step in. But maybe he'd been watching the whole time. Building his own quiet frustration, letting it pile up just like I had. And maybe he had finally reached his breaking point. When I came back to my apartment, I looked around. For the first time in years, it felt like mine. Clean. Quiet. No guilt, no pressure, no family tension bleeding in through my phone. The next day passed without a single message. No chaos. No accusations. Just silence. And in that silence, something I hadn't felt in years started to take root. Relief. For once, my life felt like mine again. The silence didn't just linger, it thickened. 3 days passed, then 4, and still nothing. Not even my mom, who used to flood the chat daily with articles like "How to Rebuild Trust in Families" or those eye-roll-worthy memes about forgiveness. By day 5, I deleted the thread. No grand announcement, no blocking spree. I just pulled the app off my home screen and kept living. And here's the strange part: life started to move again. Work felt lighter. My focus sharpened. For the first time in months, I walked into meetings without invisible weights hanging from my shoulders. My phone wasn't buzzing every hour with drama, and my mind wasn't bracing for the next emotional sucker punch. It was just quiet. I started cooking for myself again, actual meals, not takeout in a box. I went back to the gym. I even rented a car and took a road trip one weekend, no destination in mind. Just me, the open road, no ghost in the passenger seat reminding me of who used to sit there. No expectations. No obligations. Just me. On the 6th day, my sister called. I let it ring out. She left a voicemail, her voice tight but measured. She said she needed to talk. That dad's message had shaken everyone. That mom was walking on eggshells around the house. She admitted she was trying to fix things but needed my help. Then came the ask: "I know you canceled the rent, but if you could just cover July, just this one last time, I promise I'll figure it out." I didn't call back. That night, a text came through: "You seriously just going to leave me screwed? Over what? A brunch comment? Grow up." I stared at the screen, then set the phone down. No reply. By the next morning, the explosion started. A cousin messaged me privately, asking why everyone was acting like someone died. My uncle sent one of his trademark voice notes, accusing me of being cold and immature. My mom wrote another marathon paragraph. I didn't read it, just caught the preview in my notifications. You're not the only one who's ever felt hurt. But the one that stuck came later that night. My sister again. They're talking about making me leave. Dad won't even speak to me. Are you seriously okay watching that happen? It wasn't apologetic. It wasn't reflective. It was desperate, sure, but still entitled, still expecting me to swoop in. Still assuming I'd come through. I didn't answer. 2 days later, a ping from one of the old family group threads I hadn't muted. A single message, this time from my dad. I told you all to stop. If you keep pushing, you won't have this house. No one replied. Not even her. And just like that, the group went cold again. 3 full days of dead silence. Not peaceful silence, heavy, charged, like everyone was holding their breath, waiting for someone else to make the first wrong move. On the 4th day, I was standing in line at the pharmacy when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Just a link. No words. I tapped it. It opened to my sister's Facebook. A long post, public for everyone to see. She wrote about toxic families and how certain people pretend to help just so they can control you later. She didn't use my name, but anyone who knew us could read between the lines. She painted me as the villain, her sibling who abandoned her, who turned the family against her for no reason. The comments piled in. Friends hyping her up, you deserve better. Cut them off for good. I didn't comment. Didn't message her. But I did screenshot it. That same night, a text from my mom, we need to talk. It's important. I ignored it. The next morning, my cousin Ben called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but Ben's one of the few who never picked sides. Hey, man, he said. Have you talked to anyone today? No. Why? He paused. Your sister's not living there anymore. What do you mean? She showed up at my place last night with bags, crying. Said your dad told her to leave or he'd toss her stuff out on the lawn. Apparently, he actually said that. I don't know all the details, but your mom's been calling everyone this morning saying she had no idea he'd go that far. I froze. For all his recent coldness, I never thought my dad would actually throw her out. But maybe I'd underestimated him. Maybe it wasn't just me he was tired of. Maybe he'd been sitting in silence all those years, watching the same chaos I had, and finally, he snapped. My phone buzzed again while I was still on the line with Ben. This time, it wasn't a call, it was an email. Subject line, termination of joint account authorization. It was from my dad. He'd removed my mom from one of their shared financial accounts, the one I'd helped him set up 2 years ago when she kept forgetting bills. I wasn't supposed to still get admin alerts, but apparently, he'd never switched the backup contact. Within the next hour, more notifications rolled in. A utilities account change. A cancelled recurring insurance payment under her name. And then came a voicemail from my mom. This time, her voice wasn't sad or measured. It was furious. She said my dad was being irrational, that he was punishing all of us, that this is what happens when you let things fester. And then she said something that stopped me cold. You need to talk to him, not me. Him. Not them. Not us. Just him. For the first time, it was clear, they weren't united anymore. Something had fractured in that house, and it wasn't just me they'd lost. I didn't call back. That night, I sat out on my balcony, the city lights scattered in the distance, and I felt distant too. Like all of this was happening to someone else. And for the first time in years, I wasn't tangled up in their chaos. I wasn't carrying their weight. I wasn't responsible. I was free. 2 weeks slipped by. No calls. No memes. No guilt-laced essays from my mom. Not even my uncle's usual, this family is falling apart, texts. The group chat stayed dark, like the cord had been cut and no one dared plug it back in. And here's the thing, the strangest part wasn't the silence, it was how fast life started falling back into place without them. I slept. Deep, dreamless sleep. The kind where you don't wake up at 3 a.m. rehearsing arguments that haven't even happened yet. I woke up clear-headed. My mornings weren't about checking who needed me or bracing for the next crisis. They were just mornings. I went back to the gym. Bought real groceries instead of takeout. I even started volunteering at a local shelter twice a week, something I'd thought about for years but never had the mental space for. And then, completely out of nowhere, a letter. A real one. Handwritten. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. My dad. It was short. Alex. You were right to leave. I stayed quiet too long, and I let things get out of control. You don't owe anyone anything. You never did. Whatever peace you found, keep it. Dad. No drama. No apology. No guilt trip. Just those words. I read it 3 times at my kitchen table, not sure what to feel. It wasn't closure, not exactly. But it was confirmation that maybe I hadn't been crazy all these years. That someone else had seen it too, even if they hadn't said it in time. I didn't call him. Didn't text. I folded the letter, slipped it into a drawer where I keep a few reminders of who I am, and left it there. A few days later, an email from my manager popped up. The project I'd been quietly leading, one I thought no one noticed, had saved the company more than expected. They were promoting me. Bigger title. Better hours. More control. I accepted on the spot. No hesitation. And for the first time in my life, I booked a trip just for myself. 2 weeks in a little cabin outside Flagstaff. Nothing but trees, sky, and silence. I rented a car, shut off all notifications, and left. Here's the part nobody tells you, healing doesn't always feel good at first. Sometimes it feels empty. Like you're standing in a room where a storm used to rage, and now all you hear is the wind. You brace for the next wave, the next demand, the next fight, but it doesn't come. So you start filling the quiet with things that matter. With your own voice, unfiltered, without theirs in the background. And little by little, you realize you don't miss it. Not the group chat. Not the guilt. Not the endless performance. On my last night in the cabin, I sat outside under the stars with a blanket and a beer, and I thought about everything: the brunch, the car, the credit line, the voicemails, the eviction, the Facebook post. All of it. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel bitter. I just felt done. Truly, completely done. Not the kind of done where you secretly hope someone chases after you. The kind of done that comes with a clear head and a steady hand. The kind where you know you won't go back. They still exist. They still talk. I'm sure they still gossip about me. Maybe they even believe I'll cave someday. But I won't. Because sometimes walking away isn't a reaction, it's a decision. And once you make it, you don't undo it. The update: it's been 2 weeks since I got back from Flagstaff. I unpacked my bags the night I came home and told no one where I'd been. Not a word to the family. The group chat still silent. No check-ins. No updates. My sister hasn't reached out, not since the Facebook post and being kicked out. Ben told me she's crashing with a friend, spinning her own version of the story, telling people she's taking time to focus on herself. Classic her, dodging responsibility with a shiny caption. As for my parents? Nothing. No calls. No guilt-laced letters. Just silence. And honestly, I think that's exactly how my dad meant it to be. Update: it's been 2 weeks since I got back from the cabin. The first night home, I unpacked everything, set my bags in the corner, and didn't tell a soul where I'd been. Not one text. Not one call. Not even a casual, just checking in. Nothing. And honestly, I didn't even feel the urge. On their end, nothing's shifted either. The family group chat is still a graveyard. No random memes. No forced check-ins. No fake "let's all get along" posts. Just silence. My sister hasn't reached out again, not after the Facebook post, not after being thrown out of the house. Ben told me she's been crashing with a friend for now. According to him, she's spinning her own version of the story, saying she's taking time to focus on herself. Which, sure. That's just her way of avoiding any actual accountability. And my parents? Still nothing. No calls. No guilt trips. No carefully worded messages. Just silence. And the strangest thing is, I think that's exactly what my dad intended. That letter he sent wasn't just words, it was a line in the sand. A quiet acknowledgement that I was right to step away, and that he wasn't going to drag me back in. For the first time in my life, the quiet isn't unsettling. It's freedom.